Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on the Teens for Business podcast. I'm your host, Kywin.
I'm Ivan.
I'm Jackie.
And I'm Jack.
Today, we'll be talking about sports betting, its growing popularity, and its potential implications for the business world. So, just to start off, do you guys like watch sports? And do you guys like know people that maybe possibly do sports betting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't personally like do sports betting, but I'll like watch football, soccer occasionally. And well, just like an introduction to sports betting, Kaiwan, do you want to tell a little bit about what it is and how it works?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, we're all like under 21, so we can't really we don't know the legal aspect of this, but as a basic like guideline into sports betting, people, especially for football, because I watch football a lot, you can bet in a couple different ways. Like if you're watching a game specifically, these different sports books, these companies will come up with a number that suppose like two teams are playing, and they'll give you a number like 40 points. If the two teams together, their scores added up is over 40, you can bet if they go over that number or under that number. Or you can bet on specific players hitting a specific number of yards or points or anything like that. So that's you're basically betting over or under a majority of these bets.
Right.
It's like a basic intro to like how sports betting works.
Yeah, uh from my personal experience, like I used to watch sports more than now what I currently watch, but like the high profile games, like playoff games, Super Bowl, probably like World Cup, like I probably will watch those. And like watching those you kinda like see advertisements, especially on like Twitter or stuff, about for like DraftKings and then people like flexing either they won a lot. Like I remember during the World Cup, some guy like won like a ton of money, like and then like you see all those kind of stories, and then you kind of get curious about like some sports betting, but it's definitely a lot of states definitely probably ban it for good reasons.
Yeah, I'm kind of sort of in the same limbo as Ivan as for like sports watching. Like when I was young, I used to watch a lot of Premier League soccer. I watched some NFL and some NBA on certain occasions. But now, obviously, due to my busy schedule, I can't do that. In Illinois, it is legal to do sports betting, and I actually have a lot of friends who do it.
I mean, like from what I've heard, like it's super specific. Like it's not like what do you think, like oh who wins, who doesn't win. It's more like this specific score, and if they reach this specific score, then you earn a lot of money. But like from that, my point of view is like if it's that specific, I think more people it opens more doors for like people to lose their money.
Right. I
Yeah,
saw like this one video online that was like, he had like I'm not sure about these sports betting terms specifically, but I think it was called like a parlay or something. And it was like a bunch of things together, and I forgot the exact terms, but it was like, oh, Jamar Chase is gonna score the first touchdown, or like Travis Kelce is gonna do this and do that. And like at the end, he won a lot of money. I think it was like over 100 times his initial amount that he put in. And so I think like it's a very big thing that people are into, especially if they really enjoy watching like whatever sport it is.
yeah, I definitely agree. I actually during the World Cup time, I'm pretty sure Drake he bet on the World Cup final. He bet Argentina to like win, which they did win, but he did not bet that it would go to a penalty shootout, and therefore he lost money in the bet. So I think it's like a high risk, high reward, but if like type of thing if you like get it, but if you don't get it, like it could be like bad for you.
Yeah, I remember seeing like that parlay, like what Jackie was talking about. Like with bets, people like to stack them on top of each other. So basically, in a singular game, you can bet on multiple different things because there's so many different players, and they're basically stacking them. So like if one person, if like they all your bets have to come true in order for you to win that amount of money, right? So that basically that's a lot of risk because let's say you like three of the things you're betting on comes true, but one of them like doesn't. You still lose all. I mean, you still lost all the money that you bet basically. So it's like it's more and more people are going into like this high risk environment for sports betting.
Yeah, especially like those people who stack like 5, 6, 7, like a ton of conditions and they win like 20 times, like 100 times the amount they bet. Like those people like post on Twitter, on social media, and then people be like, "Whoa, you're crazy!" And then they get incentivized to start betting too, which kind of also goes down this gambling loophole, and like it's basically addiction, right?
In my eyes, I feel like sports betting is technically a form of gambling, right? So like
Yeah.
because
I
like you're
think
trying to like, so you're like,
definition wise, definitely, it's
yeah,
probably gambling,
yeah,
but
because
like
you
it's
don't know
kind of
what's gonna
different.
happen.
It's not like, oh, I'm rolling slot machines. No, it's like something, I don't know, more realistic, like slot machines, like it's a machine. But like when you're sports betting, it's people who are playing on sports teams, and then like it's kind of different. So I guess that's why people are more intrigued by that.
Right. I think it's also like the fact of like it's not 100% random or like very close to being random. It's like you know that one player might be really good, so they're obviously having a better chance of like getting that first touchdown, or like this team is a lot better than that other team, so most likely they're going to win the game. And I think there's like that aspect of, oh my god, I'm actually using my brain a little bit here versus just putting my money in for fun and looking at that 50-50 chance. I think that's also why people are like they think that they're gonna win and that like they can use their own knowledge, I guess, in a way, or like their own skill in looking at the games to like bet. But I think like the distinction is that it's a little bit more skill based, even though there's so many factors you can't control. Like if a star player is injured, like if your quarterback is injured or something like that, or like your goalie is injured, that's like a really big thing that can change the course of your bet. So I think like at the end of the day, it really kind of is gambling because there's so many things that are just, whoa, I didn't think that
Yeah,
that would
like
happen.
sports kind of gives you the illusion that it's less random than traditional gambling, but it's like I call it illusion because like as you mentioned, like there's so many things out of your control. Like I remember last like 49ers versus who was it? The Eagles. And then like
Oh,
nobody knew Purdy was gonna get injured, right? But he did. And after that I was gone. But like nobody knew that. It was out of control. People thought he was still gonna be like throwing darts or whatever, but he didn't, right? So it just sort of gives
Yeah.
that illusion that, oh my god, maybe I am based on what I've seen, I'm like 90% probably, like that's just an illusion, I think.
Right, like no one would have guessed that. Like Brock Purdy would have gotten injured, and then the fourth string would have gotten injured too, and then like
Yeah.
ZMZ almost had to come in and do it. Like that's like so much of it is like, oh, that's like just luck at that point.
Yeah, that
yeah,
kind of
I think of like
go
a
ahead.
lot of
Go ahead.
things like based on luck, like not just injuries. In fact, like during the World Cup, I know like Argentina got upset by Saudi Arabia. Nobody saw that coming, and like people who bet on Argentina must have like, lost all their money. And like I know somebody who, like I heard somebody who bet like 140,000 on that game to see Argentina win, because that normally is pretty safe. Like Argentina at that time was on like a 30-game win streak going into the World Cup, and all of a sudden that happened. That is unexpected, and like it's not just like injuries that could be like unexpected. It's just I mean, I feel like also Argentina had to get used to like playing in the hot environment of Qatar, so that might play a role. So like there's a lot of like different aspects, and I feel like there's like so many aspects to consider about sports betting that it's like a little dangerous, I feel like.
Yeah, because in that sense, it is definitely like a form of gambling, which is why it's only like legal in around like 30 states right now. So like that brings me to the next point. Do you guys think it should be legalized nationally, or is it just like is it too much like gambling to like there should still be restrictions?
Well, I personally think that definitely it should not be legalized. Like they have sugar coated sports betting so much that it's getting kind of dangerous, right? Like there's a reason why gambling is banned or like not legal in many parts of the country. And I think that should also be the reason why sports betting should be also severely limited or banned.
Um, I don't I don't know if like sports betting should be like illegal because like I feel like sometimes when you do like sports betting, like if I were to like place a bet on anything right now, like I would do research. So I would know who's injured and like how the team would perform without that player. So that I would know like should I bet on this? Should I not bet on this? I feel like I don't it is like gambling in a way because you don't really know what's gonna occur, but there's also like a different like nuance to it that makes it like somewhat different. And I feel like it also like improves like the what do you call like the like the feel of the game, the intensity of the game a little bit. So I don't know. There's like a lot of like different things to consider about whether sports betting should be legalized or not here.
Yeah, I definitely like I agree with that. I think like to a point, like sports betting, you like because I personally play it like I played fantasy football this year, and while that's not like exactly gambling in the terms of like I'm putting money on it, it's still like people who do sports betting are in a sense also like they have to know what's going on with each player to be able to be a smart better. And if like I think what the like personally because people do put like so much research into this. Like I see Twitter accounts that they're like fully dedicated to like this sports gambling stuff. It's not so much. I mean, it could go both ways. Like it is gambling, but it's more of like a educated, in a sense, an educated version of it. So like I can kind of see both sides.
Is there an age limit uh to sports betting or not?
Uh, there definitely is.
Isn't
Holy
it like
shit.
16 or something?
I think it's 21
Wait, betting or like fantasy?
betting.
Oh, I mean,
Sports betting.
probably, right?
Fantasy isn't. I
I
think pretty
think
sure
it
fantasy doesn't have one.
I think it just depends on which state because I know my friends have been like sports betting like online. So I don't know when they started sports betting. Maybe I should ask, but yeah, they do sports betting at like age 16, age 17. So
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure like fantasy is 16 within like my area at least, because one of my friends mentioned that to me once. But like, I feel like, do you guys think that there should be age limits?
I think yes, there should
Well,
be
yeah,
age
Yeah.
limits.
definitely.
I mean, well, no, I mean, obviously, I don't think a 9-year-old should go out there, but like 21 versus 18.
Well, like as you get older, I guess your sense around money improves, right? Um, but that's assuming a lot of factors. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. If I were to pick between 21 and 18, I'd probably say 18. Because like you would still get like a good sense of money and like people who are truly interested in sports have definitely done like a lot of research because like obviously at the end of high school there's like a lot of people that are like interested in like sports and stuff and like sports betting isn't exactly like gambling although there's several similarities. Wait, what is the age limit for gambling? Is that 21?
I think it's
Or
21.
okay. So it is like mini gambling in a way, but it's not really. So I think the sports betting limit should be like a little bit less than the gambling like age limit.
Yeah.
Would
Well, I think that maybe sports gambling kind of takes away from the sport. Now people are like doing it, watching sports because they have money on the line instead of actually like being a fan. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true. I've seen that occur. Like for me personally, I don't do sports betting. I just like watch the game just for the fun of it. But I definitely know like people who follow sports just solely because they just want to see their bet pay through or something.
And
Yeah.
DraftKings is like a public company, right? So, I mean, based on how hot is it, how hot the market is right now, like it's gonna continue to grow. But I don't think it's very ethical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but
Well,
like,
I think one argument for sports betting is like, I don't know, maybe people can say like how like is the like different like markets, like maybe like the crypto market, how much of that is kind of like gambling too? Because
yeah,
how do
that's
you know
true.
like
Yeah.
how much that is gonna go, right? So if people like have access to like different information to learn, like the stock market, if you're just investing in like random penny stocks, of course that's considered gambling in a sense as well. So if you have like the resources to learn and educate yourself and you're making like responsible decisions with your own money, then I guess that's like a good argument for like it could be legal at like when you turn 18. That's one point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, especially with like large sporting events coming up, like, I think that will be a growing concern definitely for like companies in general, right? Like, people want to companies want to follow like the general trend of where the audience is going, and then with like large sporting events, that will probably like shift like company advertisements, marketing strategy, stuff like that.
I think that actually depends on like seasons and stuff. So like January, like you said, like January was like a pretty strong month for sports betting because like we're entering the NFL playoffs. The Super Bowl is just a week away, I believe. And I feel like most like the sports betting, like the market, like it tends to like grow when it approaches like large events. So like it's like I think probably the sports betting market was like increasing when the World Cup started and definitely reached a peak around the World Cup final. And I think businesses and like they can like adjust their business plans, sometimes like try to do like advertisements and stuff like and like more stuff like geared like centered around like the times that the big events are going to occur, the finals uh, and semifinals even.
Yeah, exactly. Like the
Yeah, like,
Super Bowl is coming up, right? So like I
March
feel like
Madness is coming up as well.
yeah.
oh, March Madness.
oh, March Madness. Yeah, that's a big deal. But like
We could
thinking about like
yeah,
sports betting, like
we could see like a lot of sports betting happening around March
like
Madness.
do you I have a question. Like, do you know any other sports betting method other than DraftKings?
Isn't there a thing
Um
called like FanDuel or something?
FanDuel, like Penn or like
I think
Caesars. There's like a lot.
that's about it, right? Like, because like I'm thinking like sports betting gets more intense as more people are betting, right? Because when there's more people, that means you if you win, you get more payout, right?
Uh
Or is
I'm
that
not
nowhere?
entirely sure how that works, but
I'm
it's
pretty
like
sure like because like based on like horse race betting, I'm pretty sure they have like a large pool of like money, and like they're like, oh, if this horse is gonna win, put your money here, and this horse is gonna put your money here, and then so like the people who I think they get to like share, like whoever loses, they have to like they lose the money, right? But like
yeah.
the
I
people who
think
win, I think they split like the profit or something, right?
with these sports books, I think it might be a little bit different because you're not really like pulling against other bettors. You're going against like this business like DraftKings. You're betting basically against them in a sense because like what you're investing on, like the line, like let's say the line is 40 points, that has to be like the two teams has to combine for 40, like you choose whether it's lower or under. They set that line purposely. So it's more like how much, the more money that you bet, like the more money that you'll gain back. Instead, it's not really like, I'm not sure how much it is, like how many other people are like betting.
But where does that money come from, right? Has it come from another person? That's what I'm thinking.
My friends like they just like on sports games they just bet like less than $1 or something, even less than 50 cents. Like I think
That's like
they're
just playing around.
yeah, they're just like doing it for fun. They're not like doing it like seriously.
But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was thinking like if it's based on traditional, like that means it will quickly, like from a macroeconomics perspective, it will quickly become like only a few sports betting companies will dominate the entire market, right? And they will have like a massive control over sports audience, like Ticketmaster. Like
Oh,
they
speaking
have
of
like
that,
yeah.
didn't DraftKings a while ago, they tried to like merge with some or acquire, I forgot. They tried to do something with another betting company and then it got blocked because people were like, "Oh yeah, no, that's literally like you're gonna have a monopoly." So I think like there were concerns about like the world of sports betting becoming too centralized into one organization or company. So
I think right now it's like I know that DraftKings has like about like a 25% market share. I read that somewhere like in the sports betting industry, but they're not even like the biggest. They're not even the biggest one yet. But I think yeah, there should definitely be like competition in this industry because if there's one company that like has majority of like the market, then that's where like monopolization and like the corruption like that they control the entire like industry basically.
Yeah, like from like a person who doesn't really watch sports, I've only heard of DraftKings. So I think that's definitely a very big concern, especially for sports betting, but also like uh sports in general, right? Because am I curious, like since DraftKings like has like a huge like market, like its sports betting definitely affects sports in general, right? So do these companies have to get like licenses or permission from these organizations to have sports betting?
I mean, don't they have partnerships? Is that a thing? I- 'cause-
Yeah, I think they've like gotten like partnership sponsorships from like leagues, teams. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure DraftKings was like, actually sponsored by the NFL.
Yeah, I've seen those
Oh,
posts on Instagram. Like
Yeah,
they have the partnership posts.
yeah.
then that somehow makes things worse, I guess. I don't know about you. But in my opinion, like if they get like special endorsements by sports organizations themselves, I think that's like a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, it's like kind of like making like sports like into like more of like a. I mean, for many people, the fun of watching sports is just like enjoying like what is going on the pitch, right? And
Yeah,
like and
definitely.
and like if you include like money, like a lot of betting into it, it's like all about like it just turns sports into like a a giant business or giant market, like almost like I know like I know generally in like the sports like trend that I've seen, especially in soccer recently, like players are moving to other teams for like millions of dollars, and that I feel like the amount of money that's like put into like sports is kind of ruining it. What do
Yeah.
you guys think?
Amount of money put into sports, as in like from betting or like from the organization and like the teams
I
themselves.
mean, I'm thinking general because like
Like betting only makes the problem worse with money, I think.
yeah, that's what I'm
Like
trying to say.
before money already is a big factor, but then that was only from like organizations, corporations, sponsors, advertisements, but now like fans are putting in money where they're not supposed to be.
Right. I think it like takes the entertainment out of it or like the more pureness of like, oh, I'm gonna turn it on like Saturday night or like
Enjoying
Sunday
the game, right?
afternoon. Yeah,
But
right.
now
And
you're like
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying the game now.
right.
I'm like
Now you're
on the
like
edge of my seat because I have money on the line.
exactly. Like if you're doing
Exactly.
fantasy or like betting as a whole, you're like, oh my God, he literally dropped that ball. What is he doing? You're not like, oh my God, I'm rooting for this team for fun. You're like, I just lost $20. What was that for? So I
Exactly.
think
Like I've seen that like happen like I know like just in fantasy without even any money being on the line. Like if you're
yes.
playing in
I
fantasy
mean, that's
football
like
and
because
you
like you're
have a
fans because
yeah,
you're
like
like
if you have a player on another team that's
Yeah.
playing against like a team that you're rooting for, like you're very conflicted. Like you want that
Yeah.
player to do well, but you also want your team to win, right?
yeah, but like
So,
there's
Yeah.
usually no money on the line, so
yeah.
there's no like real life
So,
consequences.
like I
But
can only
there's like
imagine it's gonna be like it's a lot worse when there's like actual money on the line.
But I think like to the point of fantasy, there's still like that aspect of competitiveness. Like even though technically,
Yeah.
yes, you're not losing money, but like if Patrick Mahomes gets you 4 points on a weekend, you're like, excuse me, like you're still like, what just happened? Like even if you're not losing $100, it's still like
Yeah.
you don't like it. You're still
Like
like,
putting money on the line
yeah.
is like, what do you call it? Like like you know that proverb where like the last straw breaks the camel back. Like it's like already super competitive, but then you put money on the line, it's gonna like results in fist fights.
Mhm.
I mean like you know I remember seeing this video about like this old white dude who bet like $5 million on this random team with his
Oh,
team.
matches Mac.
I
Oh yeah, I've heard
and,
about
and, then-
that.
and then,
Oh,
like when he lost it, he's like hella chill because he's probably like hella rich because 5 million probably doesn't mean anything to him, right? He's like doing it for fun, but like most people who are doing sports betting aren't like these rich people, are like people like us who like watch sports from home. We don't own like a private jet. We don't own a yacht. Like
just
like
normal people, you know?
yeah, like normal people who are putting like, oh, I think $5. I'm putting $5 in. This doesn't matter, right? And then but that continues to rack up because as we said before, right? Like especially with like sports, what do you call it? Like um NFL, NBA giving sponsorships or like endorsements to like DraftKings, like people are more incentivized to spend those $5, $10 on betting in hopes of winning big, which is probably like $100 max, right? Because you're putting in like so little money. But like it just kind of contributes to that gambling addiction problem again, right?
Mhm.
Right, because like it starts out like you're like, oh, I'm only putting $5 in. Like even if I lose like $5, that's whatever. But then you like
You're
if you
like, oh,
start winning a
after when
little
you
bit,
lose that money, you're like, oh, I have to earn that money back.
yeah, and then like, or if you like, even if you win, like for example, you put $5 in, you win, you're like, oh my god, I'm so good at this. I can totally do more. And that's like with
Exactly.
any
Yeah.
gambling thing, right? So
Like I
Mhm.
know in Japan, like they have like pachinko machines, and they like casinos know like there are people going gambling like with some strategy in mind. So they have like apps that saying like this machine has like a 48% win rate, which is higher than every other machine. Like they know that gives an illusion. Like these companies know, these gambling companies know like people will come here thinking that they know the game, but they actually don't. And they win, and because of that they win much more money, right?
And I feel like that's a little unethical in a way because like they don't, it's like a profit making strategy, but like people like don't really know like what it's like completely about. And I feel like if they completely know what it's like about, like maybe they could use like maybe they could make a more astute decision about it.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
do.
Like I
Um,
also kind of like research a little bit on like card counting. Like I remember like there's a like ton of movie about card counting and be like, oh, this smart guy, he count cards, he can cheat casinos out. But like in reality, what happened was that people who thought they were smart, who thought they could card count, but actually couldn't, and it ended up giving casinos way more money. Like it's
mhm.
definitely a very unethical solution, but it definitely works to get people money.
Yeah.
Okay. Like look from a business point of view, I like sports betting like is very addicting, right? But like would you like but it is like a good business like model in a sense. Like would you guys consider
It works.
investing in sports betting companies like DraftKings? Would you invest in that?
Uh Maybe because I feel like specifically DraftKings maybe is probably the only one I'd invest in because it's the only one I've heard about. But I definitely see like increasing trends of sports betting, like the growth the growth in recent years of sports betting has been immense, and I feel like that trend's going to continue. And I feel like since DraftKings has such a powerful influence on the market, I could definitely look into investing in DraftKings.
Well, me personally, I don't really like the idea of like investing in unethical companies. Like I remember like doing Wharton the competition, like um ethics and like environmental stuff, like those are really big in investing. Like a lot of people kind of like, especially like Nestle, like they have a huge child labor problem, child slavery problem. Like people are like kind of hesitant on buying those goods and also especially like investing in unethical companies. So definitely when I'm looking to invest, like probably not if it's super unethical. Like you're literally earning money off of others people's like addictions, right? It's like
I mean,
kind of
I also think there's a point of like DraftKings or any of the sports betting companies, they're not like 100% money leeching, right? Like,
Hmm.
yes, they are taking your money. Yes, they are trying to make as much money they can off of you, but like in return, a lot of people like still have fun. Like, yes,
Yeah,
obviously there are
definitely.
people who are like chronically addicted to it and it's like an addiction, which is bad. But there are also people who are like doing it for fun. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna do that for fun. And like I think there's the point of like it's not 100% unethical, I think, because it is like a form of entertainment. It's just you have to like the user themselves has to like control um gambling urges. But there is a point of like entertainment in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I feel like whoever is like betting, they need to like, as what you said, like they need to like control like what they put in, because technically at the end of the day, they're the ones that are putting in the money, and only the company, because they lost the bet, that they like got the money. So to be fair, I feel like it's not completely unethical, because like I mean what's unethical about it is that like about like the percentages, like DraftKings doesn't really like tell you everything about like what's at stake, what's like everything about it. But I feel like at the end of the day, if there was a case where you were to know everything about like the betting, like what's at stake and what's everything like that, maybe that's maybe at that point, then that's just down to like the person, and it's not really unethical.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like purely from like a business standpoint, whether or not it would be a good investment, I think at like this point, um, it's like finally starting like the sports betting industry is like it's gaining like traction, right? Like in 2022, these sports betting companies like DraftKings and like Caesars Sportsbooks, they like went down like their stock, their company, like their stock in the stock market, like it went down dramatically. But like this January, 2023, I like I still have DraftKings, but like I bought it like a couple years ago, and it's been down like 70% kind of. But this past January, it went up 50% again. And DraftKings as a company, they will be profitable by 2024. So that kind of goes to show like how many more people are actually entering the sports betting market, and kind of how addicting I guess this market is also.
Yeah, like from definitely from an investing standpoint, it is definitely for DraftKings it's a ludicrous market. But I actually haven't looked at DraftKings stock yet, but it's from what Kylin said, it hasn't been doing too well as compared to like the industry, how it's doing right now. So maybe it's a good investment in the future based on where the market's going, but definitely investing, probably there should be a definite consideration about business, the ethics of the business model, um, and like what the government is taking action, like and like if government legislation will hurt the business model of DraftKings, which it probably will if things get out of control.
I feel like also to add on to that about like the ethics and stuff, like um wait, I actually forgot what I was gonna say. Scratch it.
I mean, I think like the whole matter of like ethics in the sports world is a little bit like in the gray lines, because there's people being like, oh my god, the NFL is rigged, or like this thing is rigged. And like I think that also kind of plays into sports betting. Like at the end of the day, if it is rigged, like some people say, then like you're betting on a predetermined outcome, which is like very iffy to do. And like the company doing that is also just very iffy. But I think like at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's still like entertainment. And as long as there's not any like methods from the companies doing it that are like, hey, I'm gonna steal all of your money. I think unless they cross that line, I think it's like it's entertainment in the same way you would watch like the sport itself. So
Yeah, I agree with that. What I was gonna say about ethics was like, if like any like unethical I'm talking from a business perspective. If anything unethical does get exposed, then obviously we're gonna see DraftKings lose a lot of money and our investment isn't gonna pay off, right? So because like then there's like no credibility in the company. So like you have to yeah, you definitely need to consider like the ethics in generally. You have to also like follow sports trends, news about the company, and just like that before you want to make an investment. I feel like it could be a solid investment in the future because like obviously sports betting, the popularity is growing. Some states are looking to are still like it could be possible that some states could like legalize sports betting in the near future. So yeah, it could be profitable, but there's also so much to it that you just have to like you just have to like think about everything and yeah, just every factor that's there. You have to consider it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, yeah, just a couple of takeaways from today's episode. I think like sports betting, it's like it's very complicated in a sense where you're kind of like fighting for that like ethical grounds to which like is it really ethical to bet on sports because there's like it's very like divided in the sense that it is gambling in a sense, but it's also based off sports where like you're educating yourself in a sense and you're not really just throwing money randomly. But yeah, I think to a point where like if you're old enough and if you're like you are educated enough in the area that you're betting on, I don't think it's bad. And I think like legalization wise, I think most states should consider legalizing sports betting. Of course with regulations and over 2021 preferably.
Yeah, and I think my takeaway from today is that like sports betting, it is sort of gambling, but it isn't really gambling. There's like still like a large difference. But also I feel like sports betting is contributing to like the money problem with like sports in general. Like sports betting is like contributing to like it feels like it's like transforming sports into like a huge big market or just a or a or a large business. And I feel like that's also like ruining the entertainment of watching sports.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with that. For me, it's just like thinking about what was entertainment. A lot of people have turned it into like a money-making method or like something they think is making money for them. But at the same time, I still do believe that even though that is probably a significant or like somewhat significant percentage of people, I still think a lot of people in the industry or like who do sports betting, even like sideline with fantasy too, is like mostly for entertainment. And I think that's like kind of important to consider when you're looking at the ethics of this business or like thinking about things like that and like the investments into companies like DraftKings.
Yeah, like sports betting probably isn't too big a problem now, and I can see it becoming a bigger problem in the future. However, it's definitely a market worth looking into. Um, but the government definitely like there should be regulation based on like in order to like l- minimize the problems that come with gambling, especially through the illusion of sports.
Yeah, I think yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said, and I think sports betting, overall, um, I in terms of like money, like the money that's put in, like it in a sense it does take away from the overall experience of watching sports, but that's like that could be said about a lot of things. So there's not much that you can really do about people finding a way to monetize like mostly everything. But yeah, does anybody have any other takeaways?
I think we've touched on everything.
Okay. So yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning in today as we talk about teens and sports betting. And we'll see you all next week as we continue our journey at Teens for Business.